Okay, dear friends, study I have left my topic in the mid of Delhi Saltanat, political history. We have just finished Khiljis and started Tughlaqs, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq I have finished, and I have started Muhammad bin Tughlaq. But then I have just left this topic study. I have to continue again from the same topic today. But as I have promised to you yesterday, I will bring you MCQ questions and some additional questions as well. So please try the questions and try to find out the answer. And you are the brilliant people, so you are just doing it very easily. Let us start now. Question number first. This one, you people have to do the intellectual guess. आपको इसमें थोड़ा बौद्धिक एक अंदाजा लगाना है कि which of the following factors played a role in success of Turkish invasion in India? 1. Cavalry, 2. Iqta system, and 3rd, concept of Muslim millet brotherhood. Iqta system was an administrative structure of Turks which I have to discuss with you later. मैं इक्ता व्यवस्था आपको आगे बताऊंगा. तो यहां पर आपसे यह पूछा जा रहा है कि जो तुर्की इन्वेजन है उसमें कौन सा फैक्टर तुर्की इन्वेडर्स के सक्सेस का कारण है. एक है घुड़सवार सेना, दूसरा एकता सिस्टम और तीसरा मुस्लिम बंधुता की अवधारणा. प्लीज माय स्टूडेंट्स स्टार्ट एंड बी फास्ट.
Maximum B.
C is the correct answer. 1, 2 and 3. Even the concept of Muslim millet, actually I have to inform you that the concept of Muslim millet is important for the fact as in fact Hindu society was divided on the basis of caste system, and in Muslim society although there was division on the basis of tribe and race but not on caste. In Muslim society you will find a better social mobility, so it created a better scope for the talent to rise in hierarchy. In Muslim society, when a slave could rise up to the status of sultan by dint of his talent, which was not possible in you can say हिंदू सोसाइटी. तो एक आप सुनते हो कि प्रतिभा का कद्र, तो प्रतिभा का कद्र मुस्लिम सोसाइटी में ज्यादा था. वहां पर सोसाइटी में प्रतिभा के लिए ज्यादा गुंजाइश थी और सामाजिक गतिशीलता वहां ज्यादा थी. तो इसलिए मुस्लिम ब्रदरहुड सभी समान है, तो बड़ी संख्या में सेना में भर्ती हो जाते थे. और इंडिया में तो एक वॉरियर क्लास ही फाइट करता था. This is the case. So you find here 1, 2, 3 is the correct answer. C है या नहीं?
Yes, कुछ थे.
Question number 2. Which of the following dynasties belongs to the Afghan dynasty? To Afghan dynasty. मतलब ये मैंने अभी आपको आगे पढ़ाया नहीं, लेकिन आप लोग अपने जो आपने आगे मेरा मैटर पढ़ा होगा उस बेसिस पर आप इस क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करिए. मैंने व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग डायनेस्टी बिलोंग टू द अफगान ओरिजिन और अफगान स्टॉक. चॉइस पॉइंट टू सॉरी अच्छा, सूर डायनेस्टी, सूर मतलब शेरशाह सूरी. Khalji dynasty, Lodi dynasty, Shayyad dynasty and Sur dynasty. Actually I have not taught you so far Sher Shah, but I have placed this question, and if you people will try at your own you can.
Maximum C.
C, 2 and 4. Yes, you are correct. C is the correct answer. Question number 3rd. In India Muslims, that is reasoning. In India, Muslims came as a minority group, but they remained ED. They remained to be a minority one. Reason: in India, the conversion to Islam on a massive scale didn't become possible. मतलब आपसे कहा जा रहा है कि भारत में, हिंदुस्तान में मुस्लिम्स आए एक अल्पसंख्यक समूह के रूप में, अल्पसंख्यक ही रह गए। रीजनिंग में बता रहा है कि यहां पर बड़े पैमाने पर धर्मांतरण वो नहीं करवा सके, या बड़े पैमाने पर धर्मांतरण नहीं हो सका। अब रीजनिंग के चॉइसेस आपको क्लियर है, यू पीपल हैव टू सिलेक्ट द आंसर।
A.
Choice number A is the correct answer. Yes. Quite commendable. In this question, I was a bit doubtful whether you people have to do it or will you miss. But you have done it. Very good. Question number 4. Who was the founder of तुर्कान चहलगनी? ये जो एक तुर्कान चहलगनी नामक संगठन था, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन था, उसका फाउंडर कौन था? ये कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक, बी इल्तुतमिश, सी बलबन एंड डी अलाउद्दीन खिलजी।
B.
इल्तुतमिश, yes, correct answer. Question number 5. Which of the following sultans made the following declaration? The basis of the state power should be the willing participation of the governed. मतलब राज्य शासन का आधार शासितों की इच्छा होनी चाहिए। चॉइस ए जलालुद्दीन खिलजी, चॉइस बी बलबन, चॉइस ए अलाउद्दीन खिलजी एंड चॉइस डी मुबारक शाह खिलजी। Be fast, my students. Yesterday I have pointed out this statement and I have drawn your attention to the statement yesterday.
Yes.
Choice number is Jalaluddin Khilji. Yes. Which Sultan annexed Devgiri to Delhi Sultanate? Which Sultan annexed Devgiri to Delhi Sultanate? Choice A Mubarak Shah Khilji, choice B Muhammad bin Tughlaq, choice C Balban and choice D Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. So please give the name here and try to find out. मतलब दिल्ली सल्तनत में देवगिरी को पहली बार किसने मिलाया?
Yes.
मुबारक शाह खिलजी। यस, करेक्ट आंसर। क्वेश्चन नंबर 7. Which of the sultans of Delhi is given the credit to have laid foundation? Laid, L-A-I-D, laid foundation for Mongolian policy of Delhi Sultanate. Which of the sultans of Delhi is given the credit to have laid foundation for Mongolian policy of Delhi Sultanate? मतलब कौन सा सुल्तान दिल्ली का है जो मंगोलन पॉलिसी की नींव डाली थी दिल्ली सल्तनत की? चॉइस ए इल्तुतमिश, चॉइस बी बलबन, चॉइस सी अलाउद्दीन खिलजी एंड चॉइस डी मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक। बलबन, यस, ओके, गुड, क्वाइट कमेंडेबल। टुडे you have done a very miraculous, you can say, performance, and it is quite satisfactory for me. Many of you have done at least 6 out of 7. In the first question, some of you have committed mistake about the Muslim Brotherhood, but some of you have even done 7 out of 7 questions. Quite commendable, my friends. तो अब हम कल जहां पर थे मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक में, वहीं से आगे बढ़ते हैं। तो मैं तुगलक डायनेस्टी के बारे में आपको बता रहा था कि मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक रूल्ड बिटवीन 1325 to 1351 and he was a very competent military general. Actually he was a good warrior as well. He was very talented and he was himself a scholar and he believes in innovation. Yesterday I have told you that one of the major, you can say, challenge before Muhammad bin Tughlaq was that all of his 3 contemporary scholars were not neutral to him. They were quite prejudiced to him. Barni, Barni was having a complaint against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was excessive rational. जैसे बर्नी के बारे में कहा जाता है कि he was himself a very orthodox Sunni Muslim. So he was opposed to Muhammad bin Tughlaq's policy because Muhammad bin Tughlaq sometime adopted the very rational policy. For example, you can say he was the first Sultan of Delhi who dared to make an attack on the privilege of ulemas. Ulemas का मतलब कि the Muslim priest class. And he even tried to bring Muslim priest class on par with the common people. And a Muslim ulema class was brought on par with the common people. तो जनसामान्य की तरह उसने उलेमा क्लास को लाने की कोशिश की. तो इस कारण से बर्नी तो नाराज होगा ही और बाकी उलेमा भी नाराज रहते थे उससे. और सेकेंड वन है इसामी. तो इसामी वॉज द कोर्ट हिस्टोरियन ऑफ बहमान शाह. बहमान शाह वॉज द फाउंडर ऑफ बहमनी एम्पायर, यू नो, एंड Bahmani Empire was formed, and Bahmani Empire formed out of Delhi Sultanate and through a revolt against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So Bahman Shah was his rival, and as he was a court scholar of Bahman Shah, so obviously you can say he was a major critic and a great critic of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So even Isami was his great critic, and Ibn Battuta. I have told you about Ibn Battuta. He was a traveler from Morocco. And Muhammad bin Tughlaq was having the habit for welcoming the foreigners in his court. So even he welcomed Ibn Battuta, and Ibn Battuta was installed on the post of Qazi of Delhi. But while gracing the post of Qazi, he was indulged into corrupt activities. So quickly Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who was a very short-tempered man, he turned to be furious against him and he punished him. He was put into jail, Ibn Battuta, and he languished in jail for 8 long years. After 8 years, he was released, and then Muhammad bin Tughlaq once again sent him as the ambassador to China. While on the way of China, there was a shipwreck. जहाज दुर्घटना हुई, और due to the shipwreck he could not reach his destination. And it was from the way he moved towards Morocco, his own country. And while reaching Morocco, he composed his famous text Kitab-ul-Rehla. This was the text by Ibn Battuta. So in this text, he made a very distorted portrayal of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. मतलब वो तो पहले उसका स्वागत हुआ मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक के द्वारा, क्योंकि वो फॉरेनर्स को पहले बहुत रेलिश करता था. फिर बाद में उसको लगा कि अरे यार ये तो बहुत लफड़े की बात है. साउंड इज ओके. तो बड़े लफड़े की बात है. तो उसने देखा कि भाई तो करप्शन में इंडल्ज हो गया, तो उसको जेल में डाल दिया, जेल की हवा खिला दी. अब जेल की हवा खिला दी, 8 इयर्स जेल में रहा. वहां से जब निकला तो उसको चाइना एम्बेसडर बना के भेजा. रास्ते में जहाज दुर्घटना हुई, वो पहुंच नहीं पाया. फिर वो मोरक्को चला गया और वहीं पर अपने किताब-उल-रहला टेक्स्ट लिखा और मनमाने ढंग से उसने मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक की उसमें खिंचाई की हुई. दिस इज द पॉइंट. तो दिस पॉइंट इज हियर. अब नाउ Muhammad bin Tughlaq introduced 5 projects. One project you may find transfer of capital. This transfer of capital might have taken place between 1326 or 27. Initially it was supposed to be a whimsical step taken by him, but later historians has actually accepted his, you can say, wise decision, because it was after all because his empire was extended, was having an all India reach. So it was difficult for him to control even South India while from the single headquarter Delhi. So he transferred his capital to Devgiri as well. So this decision was not unwise, but its implementation was very, you can say, tough, and his quite irritating, because he tried to plant almost all the nobles and ulemas to Devgiri, and although he provided their better facilities, he even built there the quality houses. He even allocated to them the important, you can say, apartment along with mosque, along with, you can say, some amusements, etc. But still the nobles and ulemas who felt nostalgic for Delhi, so they were largely disturbed and they were antagonistic to मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक. तो उसका कुल मिलाकर जो राजधानी परिवर्तन का प्रोजेक्ट था वो विफल हो गया, क्योंकि उसने लोगों को सुविधाएं तो देनी चाहिए. वहां पर बेस वर्क भी किया था कैपिटल बनाने के लिए, रास्ते में भी उसने काफी सुविधाएं देने की कोशिश की थी. लेकिन दूसरी बात है कि दिल्ली में भी अभी एक सबस्टेंशियल पॉपुलेशन था. ऐसा नहीं कि दिल्ली वाज वैकेटेड एज हैज बीन मेंशन्ड बाय बर्नी की नाउ इन दिल्ली ओनली कैट्स एंड डॉग्स वर ट्रेडिंग द रूट्स. So this was definitely exaggeration. In Delhi, a substantial number of Hindu population was still existing in Delhi. So, अब second one था वो token currency. अब you will come to know कि what is token currency. तो token currency means कि my students today you people are using, or in modern era there is the use of token currency. अब suppose you can say you are having a 500 rupees note, but in actual cost of the manufacturing is maximum 1 rupee of the 500 rupees. So there is every scope for imitation, you know. But at that time there was not fashion of this token currency. There was the fashion of, you can say, metallic currency. In this metallic currency, the face value and the real value of currency was the same. Real value means that suppose you are issuing 1 tanka. So in 1 tanka you have already, you can say, involved the quantity of silver whose real cost is 1 tanka. So who will imitate this currency? For imitating currency he has to arrange 1 tanka silver costing 1 tanka. So there is no use of imitating the currency. So at that time there was not imitation. But Muhammad bin Tughlaq for the first time tried to introduce such a currency of copper and bronze, which was having the value of silver. So face value became greater than its real value. So imitation started. And he committed a mistake. He didn't take the proper precautionary measure through giving the specific mark on the currency so that it could not have been imitated, because earlier than Muhammad bin Tughlaq, in the field of token currency, the experiments had been done by the king of China, Kublai Khan, earlier Mongolian king of China. He issued the paper currency, and Kai Khatu of Iran. But both of them have taken precautionary measure. They introduced a specific type of ink which could not have been imitated. But Muhammad bin Tughlaq didn't do so. So that's why a lot of imitations started, and finally bad currency replaced good currency from the market. And then Muhammad bin Tughlaq was compelled to declare this whole project to be a major failure. मतलब होता क्या है कि देखो, पहले उसको कहते हैं सांकेतिक मुद्रा, टोकन करेंसी को. तो पहले क्या होता था कि इस तरह की मुद्रा नहीं चलती थी मेडिवल एज में. उसमें क्या होता था कि अब जैसे 1 टंका है, तो 1 टंका को आप कैसे इमिटेट करोगे. मैं इंग्लिश को ध्यान में करके बोल दे रहा हूं, और मुझे किसी को दिक्कत हो तो बता देना. तो जैसे पहले आप 1 टंका का तुम करेंसी इश्यू करोगे, तो उसमें सिल्वर की करेंसी 1 टंका ही उसका कॉस्ट होता था. तो कोई क्यों काहे को नकल करेगा. नकल करने के लिए फिर 1 टंका का सिल्वर लगा रहा है, तो फिर 1 टंका वैल्यू ही मिलेगा. बाद में क्या हुआ कि मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक ने कॉपर और कास्ट जो ब्रॉन्ज है उसका कम हो सकता है 10 जीतल लगा हो, 15 जीतल या 5 जीतल लगा हो, 5 जीतल लगा हो, और उसका कॉस्ट 1 टंका का मिल रहा था, तो उसका फेस वैल्यू है वो उसके मेटेलिक वैल्यू से ज्यादा हो गया. तो बस होने लगा इमिटेशन. अब उसको प्रिकॉशन ये करना चाहिए था, कुछ ऐसा मार्क देना चाहिए था कि कोई नकल ना करे, परंतु उसमें वो दे नहीं सका. तो पूरी यह योजना विफल हो गई. तीसरा उसने एक, उसको बोलते हैं, तीसरा जो उसका मेजर है वो है एग्रीकल्चर इन द्वाब. एग्रीकल्चर इन द्वाब में क्या किया कि द्वाब में उसने प्रोग्रेसिव खेती को इंट्रोड्यूस किया, प्रोग्रेसिव एग्रीकल्चर को. एंड इवन यू कैन से द कंटेम्पररी हिस्टोरियंस आर हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेज फॉर हिज आइडिया कि आफ्टर ऑल ही ट्राइड टू इंट्रोड्यूस सम साइंटिफिक एग्रीकल्चर, एंड थ्रू रोटेशन of crops he tried to increase the production. It was a very you can say progressive idea, and Satish Chandra even tried to establish that earlier than Muhammad bin Tughlaq, all the sultans of Delhi just tried to increase the revenue through, you can say, maximize the revenue through increasing the rate of the tax. But he was the first sultan who tried to promote revenue collection through promoting agriculture and production. And he invested nearly 7 lakhs rupees and 7 square miles land was earmarked for agriculture. But due to corruption in bureaucracy, this amount was forfeited, this amount was misappropriated, and finally his plan turned to be failure. तो उसने कोशिश तो की, लेकिन अब अधिकारी भ्रष्ट निकले और पैसे के सब गोलमाल हो गया, सब उसका करप्शन हो गया, तो उससे ये योजना भी उसकी विफल हो गई. एक कहते हैं उसको खोरासान एक्सपेडिशन. खोरासान एक्सपेडिशन में ऐसा हुआ कि बेसिकली there was a Mongolian, the last Mongolian invasion has taken place at the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, for your information, and in 1333 possibly. And the Mongolian leader who carried the invasion, his name was Tasma Sirin. But possibly he defeated Tasma Sirin. And after that, no Mongolian invasion because Mongol power declined. So after the defeat of Tasma Sirin, as Mongolian power declined sharply, so there was power vacuum in the region of Central Asia and West Asia. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq, in association with the ruler of Egypt and West Asia, he hashed out a plan for conquering Khorasan. In one sense, even this plan was progressive, not regressive, because somewhere he tried to establish that offense is the best defense. So far, Delhi Sultanate has remained to be subjected to continuous invasions from northwest. So possibly he tried to strengthen the border of northwest through following the policy of aggression. But in the he recruited a big army consisting of 3,70,000 soldiers, and even he gave them the salary of 1 year in advance. But in the meantime, there was some change in political climate in the region of West Asia and Central Asia. So finally he had to discard this plan, this scheme, and he had to dismiss his soldiers. You can very well imagine that once you are going to dismiss the soldiers, so soldiers were the discontented lot, and later they revolted in Doab region. So this Khorasan expedition was also a failure. मतलब मैंने आपको बताया कि तस्मा सिरिन एक मंगोलियन इन्वेडर था, उसने पहले इन्वेजन किया इनके समय, तो उसको इसने डिफीट कर दिया. उसके बाद क्या होगा कि मंगोल का जो पावर था उसका डिक्लाइन हो गया. तो एक जो पॉलिटिकल वैक्यूम हो गया वहां सेंट्रल एशिया वेस्ट एशिया में, तो इसने एक प्लान किया इजिप्ट के रूलर और कुछ अन्य रूलर के साथ मिलकर कि हम खोरासान को कंकर करेंगे. तभी पता नहीं वहां पर मुगल शक्ति का उद्भव हो गया या कुछ ऐसा पॉलिटिकल क्लाइमेट चेंज कर गया कि इस योजना को उसको रद्द करना पड़ा. और तब तक एडवांस में इसने क्या किया था, 3,70,000 सोल्जर्स को रिक्रूट कर दिया था और उसको 1 लाख का एडवांस सैलरी दे दी थी. तो उस सोल्जर्स लोग बहुत नाराज हो गए, रिवोल्ट भी कर दिया दोआब रीजन में. तो ये इसकी योजना की विफलता है. और लास्ट आप कहते हैं, उसको कहते हैं कराचिल एक्सपेडिशन. अब व्हाट इज कराचिल? सो दिस कराचिल, कि बेसिकली दिस वाज the location of Karachil is not clear. Some scholars try to establish that it is in Kangra, some try to establish that it is in other region. So in Karachil expedition, he sent 10,000 soldiers under Khusro Malik, he was a military commander, to specify and to clarify the border of India, because there was some disputed region with China. So he tried to, you can say, clearly demarcate his border. So he sent Khusro Malik, and Khusro Malik made some tactical mistake. He entered into this hilly and forest area too deeper, and it was in the hilly people who attacked the army. So almost 10,000 soldiers were lost. So even for this fiasco, he is held responsible, but he was not directly responsible. It was a mistake on the part of the Khusro Malik. But due to the failure of his plan, one by one, created the wider discontentment. And here I have to inform you that Muhammad bin Tughlaq basically, you can say, took some strong measures for administrative centralization. Now, can you imagine that in province, I will discuss with you, that is called Iqta. In Iqta, he started to appoint two head of the Iqta simultaneously. One was the Mukti, another was Waliul Kharaj. He even passed an order to provincial officer to collect the revenue in cash and send all revenue directly in royal treasury. So this phenomena was going to enrage the nobles. This phenomena enraged the nobles, So a continuous revolt started against him. So a number of revolts started, my students, but here I have to inform you that many revolts which started and actually which spread from region to region. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq, you can say, crushed most of the revolts, but some revolts became successful. Now here you find the information which revolts became successful. Here I have to inform you that some revolts became successful. For example, that this is Madurai state. This is in South India, Madurai state. Here let us move here, observe here. This is the Madurai state. This was called So there was in 1335, there was a Muslim commander there. His name was Ahsan Shah. So Ahsan Shah made Madurai state free from the clutch of Delhi Sultanate. So there was the separation of Madurai state, Then this state that was called Vijayanagar state. Actually, the two brothers, they were from Sangama dynasty. So two brothers from Sangama dynasty, and that was Harihar and Bukka. They organized a revolt against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And finally, they created a separate and independent Vijayanagar empire in 1336. So in 1335, the Madurai state got free. In 1336, Vijayanagar. And in 1338, in 1338, actually this was the state of Bengal under Fakhruddin Mubarak Shah. Under Fakhruddin Mubarak Shah, it was Bengal who got independent. Got independence, and this state got free, So there was the actually separation of Bengal. So 1338, and in 1347 it was the Bahmani state under Bahman Shah. Bahmani state. Bahmani state in 1347. So these states, four states, my students, keep in your mind, four states got free. In 1335, Madurai. In 1336, Vijayanagar. Later, Vijayanagar conquered Madurai. And then in 1338, Bengal under Fakhruddin Mubarak Shah. In 1347, Bahmani state. So these states got free. And this Muhammad bin Tughlaq was moving from one region to another region while suppressing the revolt. और मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक एक क्षेत्र से दूसरे क्षेत्र तक भागता रहा. इधर मदुरा का स्टेट स्वतंत्र हो गया, विजयनगर इंडिपेंडेंट हो गया, बंगाल इंडिपेंडेंट हो गया और बहमनी स्टेट इंडिपेंडेंट हो गया. 4 स्टेट्स. अब आगे देखो किस तरह से बाकी स्टेट्स इंडिपेंडेंट होंगे. तो मैं आगे की सूचना, इतनी आपको इंफॉर्मेशन होनी चाहिए और ग्रेजुअली अपने दिमाग में सेट करिए कौन स्टेट आया, कौन स्टेट गया. अब इन 1351 while he died broken hearted, अब वो थक कर चूर हो गया, वो नहीं दबा सका रिवोल्ट, और 1351 में सिंध के थट्टा में उसका डेथ हो गया. सिंध के थट्टा में उसका डेथ हो गया. सो हिज cousin brother, not son or nephew, but cousin brother was Firoz Shah Tughlaq, FST, Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He became his successor. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq ruled between 1351 to 1388. My students, the period of Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the period of mixed achievements. Mixed achievements means achievements and failure both. फेलियर क्या है कि अब देखो फिरोज शाह तुगलक कोई कॉम्पिटेंट जनरल नहीं था। वो अपने टाइम में केवल 4 मिलिट्री एक्सपेडिशंस किया। 2 मिलिट्री एक्सपेडिशन तो बंगाल के अगेंस्ट में खुद लीड किया, बंगाल को रिकंकर करने के लिए, बट दैट वाज फेलियर। तीसरा एक्सपेडिशन उसने हिमाचल में कांगड़ा में नागरकोट एक्सपेडिशन किया, जहां पर ज्वालामुखी टेम्पल को प्लंडर किया, लेकिन वो भी एक्सपेडिशन करके आ गया। उसके बाद उसने एक सिंध में लास्ट में थट्टा में एक 4th एक्सपेडिशन किया, बट इवन दिस expedition was almost near failure. So as the military general, he was not having any sort of credibility, you know. So he didn't try to reconquer the regions which had been independent during the period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Rather, he preferred to accept the truncated empire. मतलब जो एम्पायर का भाग उसे मिला था उसी से उसने संतोष कर लिया। एक अच्छा काम उसने किया कि एक वेलफेयर स्टेट का कॉन्सेप्ट दिया। ऑल्दो दिस वेलफेयर स्टेट वाज मेकिंग अ टिल्ट टुवर्ड्स मुस्लिम्स, फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन से, अब ही established a department that was called Diwan-e Khairat. It was a department of charity, and it used to provide economic assistance to those Muslims who had to get his daughter married. So for the marriage of the daughter, some donations was given by this department to Muslims. इसको कहते हैं दीवाने खैरात। Second one you can say दीवाने इस्तिहाक. This was later in administration, I will make you clear. It was a pension department, you know. So he started old age pension, but for Muslim old men. Then you can say he established an employment bureau in order to develop a list of unemployed, but even here he is much particular about the Muslim youth, you know. And then for providing medical facilities to his people, to his subjects, he established a Dar-ul-Shafa, the state hospital. So these were certain achievements. You can say कि at least he laid the foundation and he initiated to build a welfare state. तो कहीं ना कहीं वो एक लोक कल्याणकारी राज्य बनाना चाहा, कुछ डिपार्टमेंट बनाए और लोगों की भलाई के लिए कुछ काम किया। लेकिन उसकी जो कुछ पॉलिसी थी वो बड़ी रॉटन पॉलिसी थी। अब क्या थी? अच्छा हाँ, कुछ उसने कंस्ट्रक्टिव वर्क भी किया। अब ही गिव patronage to music. He was a great builder, so he built road, mosque, monuments, etc. He laid the foundation of some new towns, Jaunpur, Hisar Firoja, Firoz Shah Kotla, you know, in Delhi. Then Firozpur, Hisar Firoja, Jaunpur. So in this way, you can see he laid the foundation of number of towns, you know. It is also progressive step. He patronized scholars and himself a scholar. Himself wrote his autobiography. Himself wrote an autobiography. His name was Futuhat-e Firoz Shahi. The name of his autobiography is Futuhat-e. Futuhat-e Firoz Shahi. And Barni and Shamse Siraj Afif used to decorate his court, and Barni and Shamse Siraj Afif both wrote one separate Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi. Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi has been written by two scholars and two separate Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi, Barni and Afif. But my friends, certain policies were quite devastating. In order to appease, because Nobus and ulemas were utterly dissatisfied with the excessive progressive or rational policy of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. In order to appease them, he introduced a very unprogressive or regressive and orthodox policy. So whatever medicine he presented for the treatment of the disease, so his medicine or his treatment proved more fatal than disease itself. अब देखिए इसने क्या किया कि जो नोबल्स हैं उनको खुश करने के लिए जो ऑफिसर के जितने पोस्ट है उसको हेरिडिटरी बना दिया। उलेमाओं को इनवाइट किया, क्योंकि अलाउद्दीन खिलजी ने एक बात बहुत अच्छा किया था। अलाउद्दीन खिलजी ने उलेमाओं को एक तरह से पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस को रुकवा दिया था। उलेमाज वे आर सपोज टू हैव देयर डोमिनेंस इन सोशियो कल्चरल फील्ड, बट इन पॉलिटिकल फील्ड दे कुड नॉट मेक एन इंटरवेंशन। बट Muhammad bin Tughlaq empowered ulemas again and invited them to intervene into political matters. He extended jizya even on Brahmins, because earlier the Brahmins, at least the Brahmin being the Hindu priest class, the Brahmins were exempted from jizya, but Firoz Shah Tughlaq extended jizya even on Brahmins, So ultimately you can say that he unconsciously damaged the basic fabric of the empire itself. So उसने एक तरह से अपने साम्राज्य के ढांचे को ही फिरोज शाह तुगलक ने कमजोर कर दिया अपनी गलत पॉलिसी से। 1388 में उसका डेथ हुआ। अब उसके बाद अब देयर वाज अ लिस्ट ऑफ द वीक एंड इनकॉम्पिटेंट रूलर। हिज इमीडिएट सक्सेसर वाज तुगलक शाह, but he was assassinated by his own slave, because Firoz Shah Tughlaq has developed a big band of slaves. Firoz Shah Tughlaq used to maintain 1,80,000 slaves, you can say. And he even, you can say, restricted the export of trade from Delhi Sultanate. And his son Tughlaq Shah was assassinated by his own slaves. Then came another king, that was Humayun. Even he was incompetent ruler. Then Nasiruddin Muhammad, even he is incompetent, and last ruler was Nasiruddin Mahmud. So even Nasiruddin Mahmud was a very weak and incompetent ruler. अब Nasiruddin Mahmud के बारे में कहा जाता है कि it was during the period of Nasiruddin Mahmud, in 1398. In 1398, at the time of Nasiruddin Mahmud, the Taimur's invasion on India occurred, and it was quite devastating, because Taimur plundered India, and he slain at least 1 lakh people, slain to death. करीब 1 लाख लोगों को मौत के घाट उतार दिया, and he imprisoned 1,50,000 Indians and carried them to Samarkand, his capital. So the Taimur's invasion even tarnished the existing and tarnished even the remaining image of Delhi Sultanate. This Nasiruddin Mahmud could not face him, could not fight against him. He fled away to Gujarat. So after Taimur's invasion, he returned to Delhi again, but his power and prestige were almost evaporated. तैमूर के इन्वेजन के बाद वो फिर दोबारा लौटा, लेकिन उसका जो पावर और प्रेस्टीज था वो जा चुका था। तो अब इसी वीकनेस का फायदा उठा के 1398 की घटना 1401 तक, अब देखो कौन कौन स्टेट फ्री होगा। गुजरात गॉट फ्री and under Jafar Khan. In 1401, all the states, Jafar Khan. Malwa got free under Dilawar Khan. मालवा भी स्वतंत्र हो गया। And here you will come to know कि that is, you can see near Banaras there was Jaunpur. So Jaunpur got free under Khwaja Jahan. So Gujarat became independent, Malwa independent, even Jaunpur independent. Gujarat under Jafar Khan, Malwa under Dilawar Khan, and Jaunpur under Khwaja Jahan. The master of Khwaja Jahan gave him the title Malik us Sark. यानी ख्वाजा जहान को जो उसका ऑनर था उसने मलिक उस शर्क का टाइटल दिया था। सो ख्वाजा जहान वाज ओनिंग द टाइटल मलिक उस शर्क। सो देन द डायनेस्टी ऑफ जौनपुर वाज नोन एज सर्की डायनेस्टी। जौनपुर का जो डायनेस्टी है दैट वुड बी कॉल्ड सर्की डायनेस्टी। because Khwaja Jahan was enjoying the title Malik-us-Sark by his master. Up here, fun. Madurai state was independent. It was conquered by Vijayanagar, an extension of Vijayanagar, then Bahmani, then Bengal, Bahmani, and then Gujarat, Malwa, Jaunpur. So gradually you can say the empire of Delhi Sultanate shrinked in the nearby region. In 1412 you can say, okay, this man in 1412, there was the end of Tughlaq's rule, because this Nasiruddin Mahmud died in 1412. So actually, my friends, then after that you have heard about the foundation of Sayyid dynasty. For a very short period, Sayyid dynasty. And if someone is going to ask you what was the time period for Sayyid dynasty, starting from 1414 to 1451. मतलब सैयद डायनेस्टी का टाइम पीरियड है 1414 से 1451. And you may be a bit curious because Tughlaq dynasty ended in 1412 and Sayyid dynasty started from 1414. So what happened between this intervening period of 2 years? So actually there was some Daulat Khan Lodi. This was another Daulat Khan Lodi, not Afghan ruler. So this Daulat Khan Lodi, basically he was tempted to capture Delhi for some time. So some Daulat Khan Lodi captured Delhi for some time, and then in 1414, actually when Taimur was returning from India, so Taimur appointed his military commander, his name was Khizr Khan. So Khizr Khan as the governor of Punjab. So Khizr Khan was governor of Punjab, and in 1414 he moved from Punjab and captured Delhi. And it was Khizr Khan who laid foundation of his dynasty. So the name of his dynasty was Sayyid dynasty. In Sayyid dynasty, rule of Sayyid dynasty was a very short period and there was the limited number of kings. Khizr Khan's successor of Khizr Khan was Mubarak Shah. So Mubarak Shah, his period was known for the specific scholar, because his court was decorated by this was Yahya bin Ahmad Sarhindi, who wrote Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi in Persian. Yahya bin Ahmad Sarhindi. Then the successor of Mubarak Shah was, his name was, the successor of Mubarak Shah was Muhammad Shah. So Muhammad Shah, then the last ruler of the dynasty was Alam Shah. The last ruler of this dynasty was, here you can see Alam Shah, and it was in Alam Shah was the last ruler, and actually he was a very weak ruler, and up to this period, this Delhi Sultanate was confined to, this region of Delhi Sultanate was confined to in Delhi and nearby region. So you know that there was a very there was a hearsay, or you can say that there was a proverbial statement about this Sayyid, this Alam Shah, कि शाहनशाही शाह आलम उत दिल्ली से पालम. मतलब व्यंग से इनके बारे में कहा जाता था. देखो, शाह आलम का मतलब हुआ दुनिया का राजा, विश्व का राजा. इसका नाम था शाह आलम. तो उसमें इसके बारे में एक मुहावरा चल निकला, शाहनशाही शाह आलम उत दिल्ली से पालम. मतलब दुनिया के राजा का साम्राज्य इतना बड़ा है कि दिल्ली से पालम तक फैला हुआ है. पालम मतलब पालम एयरपोर्ट. तो इस तरह से तुम देखते हो कि ये बेसिकली he was, in one sense you can say कि he was supposed to be practical enough, because he already knows the fact that कि now my rule had to be ended by some ambitious military commander. His name was Bahlul Lodi. So he willingly discarded his throne in the favor of Bahlul Lodi in 1451. So Bahlul Lodi laid the foundation of Lodi dynasty. So there was the foundation of Lodi dynasty. If someone is going to ask you the time period of Lodi dynasty, so you will mention the time period 1451 to 1488 and 1489, Lodi dynasty, Bahlul Lodi. And Bahlul Lodi, the dynasty of Bahlul Lodi was the first Afghan dynasty. You know. The time period of Bahlul Lodi was the first Afghan dynasty, Bahlul Lodi. First Afghan dynasty. And it was Bahlul Lodi who made an attack over Jaunpur. And the ruler of Jaunpur was, you know, that was Hussain Shah Sarki. तो बहलुल लोदी ने जौनपुर को जीत लिया, कंकर कर लिया. But he didn't annex Jaunpur to Delhi Sultanate. Rather, he appointed his another son. His name was Barwak Shah, as the ruler of Jaunpur. So he maintained two separate states of Delhi and Jaunpur. Now, my students, here I have to inform you that this Bahlul Lodi was from Afghan dynasty, and Afghan's structure was based on a tribal structure. So as Afghan structure was based on a tribal structure, you know, so in this tribal Afghan structure, the sense of equality is much stronger sense of equality. So it was going to be a big hurdle in creation of a powerful monarchy. It is said that Bahlul Lodi didn't dare to sit on the throne. Rather, he preferred to sit on a carpet with masnad, pillow. So his nobles were known as Masnad-e-Ali. Actually, Abbas Khan Sherwani is an Afghan scholar. He has mentioned about Bahlul Lodi. When Bahlul Lodi came to rule at that time, the number of Afghans in India was few and far between. So he tried to swell up the number of Afghans so that he might have got a strong support base. So he made an appeal to Afghans of Roh means Peshawar. He made an appeal to Afghans of Roha. He come to Hindustan. Come to Hindustan. I will make an empire, and you will be free from poverty. And sovereignty of Hindustan is mine, and all other things are ours. This was his statement. So, according to Abbas Khan, on his appeal, the Afghans of Roha rushed towards India just like locust. मतलब कहा जाता है कि बहलुल लोदी पहला अफगान रूलर था, तो संख्या में कम थे अफगान का, तो उसको लगता था मैं कैसे एम्पायर बनाऊंगा, तो रोह के अफगानों को अपील की कि तुम आ जाओ हिंदुस्तान. अब्बास खान शेरवानी उसका कोर्ट स्कॉलर कहता है, अफगान था वो भी, कि रोह के अफगानों को कहा कि आ जाओ हिंदुस्तान, तुम गरीबी से छुटकारा पा जाओगे और हम एक साम्राज्य बना लेंगे. तो रोह के अफगान टिड्डी की तरह हिंदुस्तान दौड़ पड़े. लेकिन अब दिक्कत यह थी कि अफगानों में इक्वलिटी की भावना स्ट्रांग थी, तो वो थ्रोन नहीं अपने इस्टेब्लिश किया था अपने कोर्ट में, बल्कि अपने जो नोबुस था उसके साथ वो कारपेट पर बैठता था. उसके जो नोबुस थे वो कहलाते थे मसनद-ए-आली, जो कारपेट पर बैठता था. His successor was Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar Lodi, he was a very competent and very ambitious king, Sikandar Lodi. He ruled between 1489 to 1517. Sikandar Lodi. देखो, first of all, Sikandar Lodi didn't prefer the separation of Delhi and Jaunpur. Rather, he defeated and killed his brother Barwak Shah and annexed Jaunpur to Delhi Sultanate. So now Jaunpur became the part of Delhi Sultanate, so it was the extension of Jaunpur, and Jaunpur was annexed by, conquered by Bahlol Lodi, but annexed by Sikandar Lodi. Secondly, कि Sikandar Lodi didn't prefer to continue the policy of equality with nobles, which had earlier been started by Bahlol Lodi. Rather, he preferred to install a throne in his court, and he used to sit on the throne, and he consciously tried to make a distinction between a monarch and the nobles. Sometimes, in order to assert his authority, he used to allow his, he used to, you can say, compel his nobles to stand before him for hours. So in this way, he tried to reassert the power of and authority of these nobles, And after his, even Ibrahim Lodi, देखो सिकंदर लोदी ने अफगान नोबल्स को डिसिप्लिन करना चाहा, वो बहलोल लोदी वाले पॉलिसी को कंटिन्यू करने के मूड में नहीं था। फिर उसके कुछ और भी अचीवमेंट है। एक तो उसने जौनपुर को कंकर किया, दूसरा क्या है कि एक्चुअली ही एक्सटेंडेड हिज एम्पायर टू ईस्टर्न राजस्थान, धौलपुर एटसेट्रा, ग्वालियर, धौलपुर, दिस रीजन वेर कंकर्ड बाय बहलोल लोदी, region were conquered by Sikandar Lodi. So Sikandar Lodi came to realize that it is very difficult to control from Delhi, this region, to control this region from Delhi. So he laid the foundation of Agra in 1504. So if someone is going to ask you, okay, who laid the foundation of Agra, so that is Sikandar Lodi, and he transferred his capital. His capital was Agra. So Sikandar Lodi was having the deep association with Agra. ये बात ध्यान रखना। दूसरी बात क्या है कि सिकंदर लोदी कैरीड द लैंड मेजरमेंट। अर्लियर अलाउद्दीन खिलजी कैरीड द लैंड मेजरमेंट, देन मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक, देन सिकंदर लोदी। एंड सिकंदर लोदी इंट्रोड्यूस्ड अ न्यू मेजरिंग यूनिट। वह एक भूमि माप की एक अलग इकाई डेवलप किया जिसका नाम था गज ए सिकंदरी। He established a separate unit of measurement, and this separate unit of measurement was known as Gaj-e-Sikandari. So that was from Sikandar Lodi. After Sikandar Lodi, then came Ibrahim Lodi. And one more information. Sikandar Lodi was himself a poet, but he didn't write it in his name. He was writing poetry इन अ पेन नेम। पेन नेम कहते हैं एक छद नाम। जैसे कई ऑथर होते हैं जो अपने असली नाम से कविता नहीं लिखते हैं या कुछ भी नहीं लिखते हैं, बल्कि वो कोई एक सूडो नेम से लिखते हैं। तो उसका एक सूडो नाम था गुलरुखी, माने गुलरुखी के वो सूडो नेम से ही यूज्ड टू राइट कंपोजिशन, गुलरुखी। सो सिकंदर लोदी। सो दिस इज द अचीवमेंट ऑफ सिकंदर लोदी। देन केम इब्राहिम लोदी। Ibrahim Lodi. This was the last king. He ruled between 1517 to 1526. He had to face Babur, Jahiruddin Babur. अब here I have to inform you, Ibrahim Lodi also continued the policy of Sikandar Lodi and tried to discipline his nobles. But his policy boomeranged and created counter-reaction among nobles. So at that time, an Afghan noble, basically indiscipline was a major factor among Afghans, so that it was the latter, even Sher Shah had faced this problem, So one was the governor of Bihar, his name was Darya Khan Nuhani. So he became practically free. He almost revolted. And one Afghan noble was Daulat Khan Lodi. So Daulat Khan Lodi was irritated at his behavior. He was the governor of Punjab, and later you will come to know that it was Daulat Khan Lodi who even invited Babur against Ibrahim Lodi. So this was the outcome of this policy. Now I have to discuss about tripartite struggle and then Babur and foundation of Mughal rule. देखो अब व्हाट इज द सिचुएशन। दिस इज द स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात, दिस इज मालवा, This is the Rajput states of Mewar, you know. So Sisodia dynasty was a powerful dynasty in Mewar, and earlier you can say Rana Kumbha was a powerful king, and then after Rana Kumbha was assassinated by his son Rana Uda, and after Rana Uda it became Mahana Sangha. Mahana Sangha was a very powerful and ambitious king. Ankur, everything is clear?
एक दो क्वेश्चन है सर.
बोलो.
निखिल कह रहे हैं सर कि मोहम्मद बिन हैड नॉलेज 40 लैंग्वेज, देन व्हाई डिड ही इशू तुगलकी फरमान?
No, I don't understand this question.
Muhammad bin Tughlaq had
Yeah.
knowledge of 40 languages.
Okay.
Then why did he uses Tughlaqi Farman?
First of all, Nikhil, he was having the knowledge of 40 languages. It is an exaggeration. It was not having such a historical, this is not proved. You might have heard about some hearsay and some not from authentic source, you can say. But even if he could have the knowledge of 40 languages, for a minute I am going to believe it, Nikhil, then what relationship between his knowledge of languages and Tughlaqi Farman? So please make me clear, if you are just Tughlaqi Farman, you mean his irrational step. So now historians prove that his in ideas he was progressive, but he was far ahead of time. That's why his schemes failed one by one. He was basically lives in the make-believe world, and from the practical world he was detached. So he was making the very lofty plans, but his implementation part was poor. So that's why his plan failed one by one.
कंचन पूछ रहे हैं सर कि इज रानी दुर्गावती स्टोरी इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर यूपीएससी?
No, Rani Durgavati story is not important for UPSC. And in Durgavati, a story of Durgavati will come at the time of Akbar. I'll make you clear. Durgavati is not here. Here, I try to understand up to this period.
जतिन कह रहे सर मुगल ancestor both killing the people in masses, but still they show close affinity with Taimur.
Let us come. एक क्वेश्चन क्लियर नहीं हुआ. तैमूर के साथ एफिनिटी, जो कि तैमूर उस बड़ा गोल्डन एज का प्रतिनिधित्व करता है उसमें, तो इसलिए तैमूर से एफिनिटी रखते हैं.
पुष्पिंदर कह रहे सर व्हाट वाज तुगलकी फरमान?
Orders, and he used to pass the orders of the officers, and he used to take the decision unilaterally. So that was called Tughlaqi Farman.
Okay, sir.
No question is worth discussing. All were just like, you can say, time pass. Here the point is, one state was the Gujarat state. Second one was the Malwa, and second one Mahana Sangha. That was the ruler. So earlier you can say Gujarat, Malwa, and Mewar, all were at. This was the Lodi state, you know, Delhi. Ibrahim Lodi. This was the Lodi state. So earlier all the four states used to maintain some sort of balance of power, because all were of the equally power. But in the meantime, the power of Malwa declined sharply. यही समय है कि मालवा का जो पावर है वो बहुत ही तेजी से डिक्लाइन कर गया. So as power of Malwa declined, so now Gujarat and Mewar both started to intervene into the internal matter of Malwa. And at that time, the Malwa was ruled by a ruler that was called Mahmud II. मैंने एक समय था कि महमूद खलजी मालवा का रूलर था, पावरफुल रूलर था. अब मालवा कमजोर हो गया था और गुजरात और मेवाड़ दोनों इंटरवेन कर रहे थे, और मालवा का जो कोर्ट था वो फैक्शनलिज्म में बटा हुआ था. एक उसमें मुस्लिम फैक्शन था, दूसरा राजपूत फैक्शन था, और राजपूत फैक्शन को लीड कर रहा था मेदिनी राय. मेदिनी राय वॉज प्रोटेजे ऑफ महाना सांगा. तो मेदिनी राय जो था वो महाना सांगा का फॉलोअर और शिष्य था. एंड अनदर फैक्शन वाज द मुस्लिम फैक्शन दैट वाज सपोर्टेड बाय द रूलर ऑफ गुजरात, हु वाज ए मुस्लिम रूलर. तो मतलब क्या था कि दो फैक्शन थे. वन राजपूत फैक्शन वाज लेड बाय मेदिनी राय, and Muslim faction was supported by the ruler of Gujarat. So once this Rajput faction under Medini Rai made an appeal to Mahana Sangha to punish Mahmud II. So Mahana Sangha invaded Malwa. और Mahana Sangha invaded Malwa, and after invading Malwa, he arrested or imprisoned, he imprisoned Mahmud II, the ruler. And then he carried with him this imprisoned ruler to Mewar. And he kept this ruler Mahmud II in Mewar as hostage for 6 months. After 6 months, he was released. So due to this growing power and prestige of Mahana Sangha in North India, Ibrahim Lodi, the Lodi ruler, was a bit scared and concerned. So Ibrahim Lodi preferred to give punishment to Mahana Sangha. So Ibrahim Lodi in 1518 invaded Mewar. In 1518. And there was a battle between Mahana Sangha and Ibrahim Lodi that is called the Battle of Khatoli. Battle of Khatoli. In this Battle of Khatoli, Mahana Sangha defeated Ibrahim Lodi. मैंने आपको ये बताया कि एक्चुअली महाना सांगा को जब मेदिनी राय जो उसका फॉलोअर था राजपूत फैक्शन का, उसने उसको इनवाइट किया, तो महाना सांगा गए और जाके महमूद II को बंदी बना के 6 महीने मेवाड़ में रखा, फिर उसको आजाद किया। तो उसकी पावर प्रेस्टीज तो बढ़ रहा था, तो इब्राहिम लोदी डर गया, उसको लगा कि भाई इसको अब रोकना आवश्यक है, तो उसने इन्वाइट कर दिया मेवाड़ पर 1518 में। तो उसी में खटोली का वॉर हुआ। तो जो बैटल ऑफ खटोली है उसमें महाना सांगा ने डिफीट कर दिया इब्राहिम लोदी को। सो इन दिस वे महाना सांगा वाज इन पावरफुल पोजीशन, बट even Mahana Sangha was not in a position to eject Ibrahim Lodi from Delhi and Agra. It is true that Mahana Sangha very successfully fought a defensive war and he could save himself, but he could not eject even Ibrahim Lodi from Delhi and Agra. So a tug of war between the Lodi and Mahana Sangha was going on and Rajputs were going on. So there was a rivalry between the Rajput power under Mewar and this Lodi power under Ibrahim Lodi. So it was the time Babur started to knock at the door of India. There would be the entry of Babur and politics. He had the tug of war between Rajputs and Afghans. Tug of war between Mewar and Lodi state. So this is the point. Up to this point, my students, are you clear? Or any confusion? Because I'm entering into Mughal period now. Mr. Ankur, please, my students, give me the hint. Are you clear up to this point? Okay, right. अब move to Mughal period. अब you are observing here Babur. So in order to understand Babur, you are supposed to start the story in West Asia, West Asia. That is Bukhara, Samarkand, etc. So my students, here I have to inform you, be mentally alert, because then you will be clear even about Mughals foreign policy. You will be crystal clear. Taimur has created a big empire earlier. Taimur's empire was so large that it extended from Turan to Iran. Turan means Central Asia and Iran, West Asia. So his empire expanded from Central Asia to West Asia. But my students, in any Central Asian empire, whether it might have been the empire of Changiz or the empire of Taimur, all Central empires was having a major weakness. There was a wrong precedent of partitioning of empire among different successors. So So due to the partitioning of empire, you can say this empire easily declined or disintegrated. मतलब देखो मध्य एशिया में जितने भी एम्पायर हुए सेंट्रल एशिया में, चाहे वो चंगेज को हों या तैमूर के हों, उनकी एक बड़ी कमजोरी रही, और कमजोरी यह रही कि उनमें एक साम्राज्य विभाजन की कमजोरी रही. दे ट्राई टू डिवाइड दिस देमसेल्व्स एज द एम्पायर, यू नो. तो ये जो साम्राज्य विभाजन की जो कमजोरी रही, इस कारण से उनका एम्पायर डिक्लाइन कर गया, डिसइंटीग्रेट कर गया. सो माय स्टूडेंट्स, एज माने वो बांट ले, विभिन्न सक्सेशन में उसको डिवाइड कर देते थे. So actually, due to the disintegration of Taimur's empire, some political vacuum was created. So this political vacuum was filled up by two different empires. In West Asia, there was the foundation of a Shia empire that was called Safavid Empire. Shia empire that was called Safavid Empire. And in Central Asia, there was a big empire that was called Uzbek Empire. Uzbek Empire. Uzbek Empire. There was some web serial, I think, Empire or someone. So in this web serial, you will come to know about Savani Khan, Uzbek, or etc. So that was, you can say, Uzbek Empire. That was Safavid Empire. Uzbek Empire was a Sunni empire. Safavid were Shia. And just in Eastern Europe part, there was another empire that was called Ottoman Empire. In world history, you have already read Ottoman Empire. So Ottoman Empire was Sunni empire, Uzbek Empire was Sunni empire, and Safavid Empire was Shia empire. And there were a smaller, you can say, principalities, smaller states there, because already Taimur's empire disintegrated, you know. So after disintegration of Taimur's empire, there were the tiny Mughal states. So Taimur, you can say, the grandson of Taimur was Umar Sheikh Mirza, and he was the ruler of Fargana, because there was the divisioning of empire, partitioning of empire. So this Umar Sheikh Mirza was owning the state of Fargana. And Umar Sheikh Mirza, Babur was the son of Umar Sheikh Mirza, and he was simply at the age of 10. In the meantime, Umar Sheikh Mirza met his accidental death. So Babur became the king in 1494 at the age of 10 years, you can say. But right from the very beginning, he was much ambitious. So he was having his greedy glance over Samarkand. Samarkand has remained to be the capital of Taimur. So Samarkand was having the very greater political value. But Samarkand was being owned by his uncle. So he tried to snatch Samarkand from his uncle. So he, you know, by dint of his, you can say, valor, and by dint of his activism, he could conquer Samarkand in 1497. But when Samarkand slipped out of the hand of his uncle, so his uncle was disturbed, and he took support from Uzbek ruler Savani Khan Uzbek. So Savani Khan Uzbek invaded Samarkand and expelled him from Samarkand, threw him out from Samarkand. In the meantime, his step brother even captured Fargana. So for time being, Babur came on the road because he was neither having Fargana nor Samarkand. देखो मैं स्टूडेंट्स, कभी कभी बाबर का लाइफ बड़ा इलस्ट्रियस लगता है. हालांकि बाबर तैमूर नहीं था, क्योंकि बाबर तो इंडिजिनाइज हो गया ना, तो देसीकरण उसका हो गया, वो इंडिया में रह गया, सेटल कर गया. तैमूर तो एक प्लंडरर था जो अपना प्लंडर करके चला गया, बूचर था. बाबर का ऐसा कोई ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड में इंडिया में कत्लेआम करने का ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. और उसने कंकर किया, और कंकर करने के बाद ही वॉज इंडिजिनाइज्ड, यहीं पर अपने डायनेस्टी को फाउंड कर दिया. हालांकि बाबर दिल से कभी इंडियन हुआ नहीं, हिंदुस्तानी नहीं हुआ. एक कमजोरी बाबर की रही. और बाबर और बहादुर शाह जफर जो अंतिम रूलर है, उसको कंपेयर करोगे तो दोनों का डिफरेंस आपको बिल्कुल क्लियर पता चलेगा. बाबर था तो द विश ऑफ बाबर वॉज कि आफ्टर माई डेथ माई डेड बॉडी शुड बी बरीड एट काबुल. So although he died at Lahore, his dead body was brought to Agra, but once again it was carried to Kabul, and in Kabul he was buried. And Bahadur Shah Zafar, who was the last king, and he was punished by the British after the Great Revolt of 1857. So he was carried out from India to Rangoon. So what was his couplet? Are you recalling? कि है कितना बदनसीब जफर दफन के लिए 2 गज जमीन न मिली कुएं यार में. So this was the difference because between this period the Mughals were indigenized, and indigenization of Mughal dynasty, Akbar played the very pivotal role, तो बाबर जब समरकंद लूज किया, फरगना भी लूज कर गया, बट ही स्टार्टेड हिज कैरियर फ्रॉम स्क्रैच एंड वंस अगेन ही कंकर्ड फरगना. समरकंद ही कुड नॉट, so he moved towards slightly south and he conquered Kabul in 1504. And then once again he got opportunity to conquer Samarkand. In what way? In 1510 there was a very fierce battle between Safavid ruler Shah Ismail and Uzbek ruler Sevani Khan Uzbek. And in this battle Shah Ismail ruled the roost and he defeated Sevani Khan Uzbek in this battle, and killed him. So after the route of Babur for Samarkand was clear, and it was with the support of Shah Ismail, Babur could once again capture Samarkand in 1511. But Babur was a very, you can say, Babur was having a sense of a strong self-respect. And very soon we came to realize that the officers of Shah Ismail was behaving Babur in the manner as if even he was simply an employee of Shah Ismail or commander of Shah Ismail. So it was going to touch his self-esteem and self-respect, and he willingly discarded Samarkand and then he moved towards India. मतलब मैंने आपको बताया कि देखो शाह इस्माइल जो पर्शियन रूलर था उसकी सहायता से इसने फिर समरकंद पर कब्जा तो कर लिया, लेकिन उसको बड़ा वो स्वाभिमानी किस्म का था. उसको लगा कि भाई मेरे साथ ऐसे उसके जो जनरल्स है ऐसे बिहेवियर कर रहे हैं जैसे मैं उनका कोई एम्प्लॉय हूं, तो इसको टॉलरेट नहीं कर पाया, छोड़ दिया समरकंद, फिर लौट आया. एंड देन एक्चुअली इन हिज ऑटोबायोग्राफी तुजुके बाबरी ही राइट्स कि right from the conquest of Kabul till the first battle of Panipat, I could never forget the region of Hindustan. तो इनिशियली जो बाबर हिंदुस्तान पर अटैक किया था, इन्वेड किया था, तो उसका इनिशियल ऑब्जेक्टिव सिंपली टू हैव द कंट्रोल ओवर पंजाब था. ही जस्ट ट्राइड टू कैप्चर पंजाब, एंड बिटवीन 1520 he made first expedition at the fort of Bhira in 1518, and it was at the fort of Bhira in Punjab he used cannons for the first time. Then second expedition 1520, then third 1522, then fourth 1524, and fifth 1525. So initially even Daulat Khan Lodi invited him, and then he came and then captured Punjab, and Daulat Khan Lodi surrendered before him. So Babur captured Punjab. In the meantime, Ibrahim Lodi was ruling in Delhi. So there were the dual rule here, Punjab in Babur and Ibrahim Lodi in Delhi. So a decisive battle was essential. So finally Ibrahim Lodi decided to fight a battle with Babur. So in 1526 both confronted each other in the battle of Panipat. First battle of Panipat in 1526. So Babur successfully combined तुलगमा वॉर सिस्टम विथ कैनन्स. अब आपको क्यूरियोसिटी होगी भाई तुलगमा वॉर सिस्टम में क्या होता है. इन तुलगमा एक उस वॉर सिस्टम का नाम है तुलगमा. तुलगमा वॉर सिस्टम ये होता है कि जैसे अब सपोज द फ्रंट आर्मी, इट इज फाइटिंग द फ्रंट आर्मी, इंगेजिंग द फ्रंट आर्मी, In the meantime, the army at left and right hand, these soldiers at left and right hand, they try to dodge the main front army, and they are just, you can say, moving in opposite direction, and they are making a big circle and suddenly attack from the behind. मतलब क्या होता था कि जो फ्रंट आर्मी को एंगेज करती है, और लेफ्ट और राइट और लेफ्ट में जो आर्मी जो सोल्जर्स होते हैं वो जानबूझ के एक बड़ा सा they are making a big circle, and making the circle they are attacking from the back. So this front army was getting nervous for the fact that they are just fell under the wrong impression कि possibly a new army has come to help this army, so they lost their confidence. तो मतलब क्या होता है कि ऐसी स्थिति में जो सामने वाली आर्मी होती है उसको लगता है कोई नई आर्मी आ गई इनकी सहायता में, इनकी हेल्प में, तो उनका कॉन्फिडेंस लूज हो जाता है. तो यही सिस्टम है तुलगमा. उसको तो कैनन्स को जोड़ दिया और पूरे कैनन्स को बिछाकर ही लेट डाउन द कैनन्स, एंड ही ऑलरेडी dig the ditch, and in the ditch the cannon master were placed carefully, and then in 4 to 5 hours, this Ibrahim Lodi could have been routed in the battlefield, not defeated, routed completely. And then Babur, this conquered the battle, and then he captured Delhi and Agra. So this was the first battle of Panipat, and Babur could capture Delhi and Agra. But my friends, some historians rightly quipped and rightly told, or rightly said, कि the battle of Khanwa, which took place in 1527, so it was more fierce and decisive than the battle of Panipat. Because the main rival to Babur was not Ibrahim Lodi, it was Mahana Sangha. And Mahana Sangha was very closely watching the movement of Babur. Earlier he was under the impression that possibly like Taimur, after plundering Hindustan, he might have returned to Central Asia or Samarkand, But when Babur decided to stay in India, so a decisive battle with Mahana Sangha was imminent and inevitable. So finally this battle of Khanwa took place. So it is said that Mahana Sangha was assisted even by some other Rajput states as well, and definitely this battle was a very fierce battle, very fierce battle. And in this battle, Babur was on the point of losing this war. So Babur almost took the oath, माने बाबर इस युद्ध को एकदम लूज करने के पॉइंट पर था. तो बाबर ने पहली बार जिहाद का नारा दिया. जिहाद का मतलब होता है क्रूसेड्स या होली वॉर, जबकि बाबर का ये नेचर नहीं था इस तरह का जिहाद, या रिलीजन में बहुत विश्वास नहीं, मतलब वो बहुत रिलीजियस प्रकृति का नहीं था और ऑर्थोडॉक्स नहीं था. रिलीजियस तो था, ऑर्थोडॉक्स नहीं था, लेकिन जिहाद उसने आर्मी को मोबिलाइज करने के लिए दिया. एंड ही टुक द ओथ कि आई विल नेवर टच वाइन इन माई लाइफ टाइम इफ आई गेट विक्ट्री. And then he never touched. उसके बाद तो सर्वाइव भी कितना टाइम किया, 1527 का 1530 में तो उसका डेथ ही हो गया, 3 years. But he won the battle, Mahana Sangha was seriously injured in the battle, and Mahana Sangha was preparing for a more formidable war, but his military generals were worried about the fact that possibly Mahana Sangha could get us involved into a devastating war. So for that fear, he gave poison to Mahana Sangha. So Mahana Sangha was poisoned to death. मतलब Mahana Sangha बैटल तो हार गए, लेकिन वो लौट रहे थे बैटल फील्ड से इंजर्ड होके कि अब अगली बार तैयारी करके आऊंगा और बाबर को फिर छक्के छुड़ाऊंगा. लेकिन उसके मिलिट्री जनरल को लगा कि भाई ये तो हमें फंसा देगा, हमको मरना होगा, तो उसने उनको जहर दे दिया. तो ये तो हो गया. अब इन 1528 बाबर attacked Medini Rai, who was the protege of Mahana Sangha, and defeated him. Then in the meantime you can say that these Afghans were few and larger in number. So Ibrahim Lodi was defeated, and Ibrahim Lodi, a younger brother of Ibrahim Lodi, was Mahmud Lodi. So he escaped from the battlefield with 10,000 battle-hardened forces. He even joined Mahana Sangha to take revenge of Babur. Mahana Sangha was defeated, so he moved towards Bengal, because in Bengal, Nusrat Shah, the ruler of Bengal, was the son-in-law of Ibrahim Lodi. So all the Afghans were thronging to Bengal. So Babur now decided to fight a battle against Afghans to crush the power of Afghans. So in 1529, you can say, you might have heard about the Battle of Ghaggar. The Battle of Ghaggar took place. The Battle of Ghaggar took place, you can say, here. And in this battle, Babur could defeat Afghan, but he could not break the power of Afghans, and he had to sign a treaty because he was in hurry to move to Kabul because some revolt started against Kabul. Revolt started in Kabul. So he moved fastly to Kabul in 1530, and he was on the way to Kabul. At Lahore he died. मतलब वो अभी अफगानों की ताकत को पूरी तरह नहीं तोड़ पाया था, तभी रिवोल्ट हुआ और काबुल में उसी को सप्रेस करने जा रहा था, तो रास्ते में लाहौर में उसका डेथ हो गया. His dead body was brought to Agra. There was a garden. So its garden was known as Aram Bagh Garden because his dead body was placed here. Presently its name was Ram Bagh Garden. And then finally his dead body was buried at Kabul according to his wish, So I have to stop here, my friends. Time is over now. I'll see you tomorrow, and the rest of the part of Mughals. You people have to go through my study material I have already given to you. Okay? Thank you very much, my friends. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. I will see you Monday, not tomorrow, Monday. Mistakenly I have told tomorrow. Okay, good night, my friends.